Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, and today I'm joined by Robin Purdie, and we'll start with a brief recap of last weekend. In the Premiership, Hawick beat Kelso at Pondar Park 28-20 in a much tougher encounter than the game between the two at Mansfield Park earlier in the season. In the other border derby, Selkirk got a much better start, went 19-0 up against Jed Forest at Riverside, going on to win comfortably by 33 points to 12. In National 1, Gala made it 4 wins out of 4 at home to GHK, cruising to a 56-12 victory, scoring 8 second-half tries, would you believe, to turn things round after the break. Melrose were 17-0 up to Biggar, but they let that lead slip, unfortunately, and it was Biggar who took the game 45 points to 29. In National 2, Peebles sneaked home against Stuart's Melville 25-23, while Berwick finally picked up their first win of the season, a good 28-15 result at home to Stirling County, and they're now off the bottom of the table. And finally, in East League 1, Langham took the win 25-21 over Forrester. Hoyt Lindeen beat Duns 23-0 in the second division, but Hoyt Quinns fell to Livingston on the road by 25 points to 6. In the third division, Earlston took the scalp of Inverleith, winning 55-3 at the Hoch to return to the top of the table. So Robin, let's pick out the bones from those ones, starting I think obviously with Hawick and Selkirk winning the Premiership border derbies.
Yeah, good win for Hawick down there at Kelso. That was always looking like it was going to be a bit of a ding-dong, and it seems to have been the case. And yeah, I think Hawick will be pretty pleased with the outcome of that one, coming away with Pondar with the points that they did. Jed v Selkirk, it was the last chance saloon for Jed, unfortunately, and they came up short against the Selkirk team, who in the last 2 or 3 weeks just looked to have got their act together and in a wee bit of a purple patch. And
of course Gala rolling on with their 4th win on the bounce, but Melrose not capitalising on that start, 17-0 up, and then, well, let's be honest, throwing it away.
Yeah, no idea what's happened there. 17-0 up against the team that 3 weeks ago were kind of going to be in a relegation dogfight.
Well, Biggar certainly got stronger. They got Borthy back, of course, and a few others.
Well, they must have got their act together. But even still, this has got echoes of the Glasgow Accies game about it. Don't have to cast your mind back that far to any Melrose team. Melrose should not be shipping 45 points at home. Coughing up a 17-point lead as well, and it doesn't get any easier for them this weekend. Gala, other than Hawick, Gala are arguably the form team in the region at the moment, and they're in a bit of a roll.
Yep, National 2, Peebles got past Stew Mel, bit of a squeeze, but they got there. They got the 4 points, not the 5. But Berwick delighted with their first win of the season.
Yeah, which takes them off the bottom. That's great to see, and yeah, they've got a really big game this week against the team directly above them now in Kirkcaldy, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Peebles, it looks like a wee bit sounds like it was a wee bit of a skin of the teeth job, but a win is a win, and they are right where they need to be now.
Yep, absolutely. It's theirs to lose. Earlston back to winning ways in East League 3. Top of the table still, but no room for slip-ups with Trinity Academicals and also Edinburgh Northern snapping at the heels.
Trinity especially are still right there with a game in hand, and yeah, I just noticed that earlier today. Northern are just kind of creeping up on the rails with a couple of games in hand on Earlston, so still Earlston's to lose, but it's a lot tighter at the top than it was.
Well, let's turn our attention to tomorrow, and we'll start with Hawick against Edinburgh Accies in the Premiership. The Greens into their, would you believe, 49th consecutive month of not losing at Mansfield Park. Here's head coach Matty Douglas.
For me, these next 2 games are crucial, and it starts on Saturday back home at Mansfield. There's a performance coming. There was glimpses on Saturday. There was glimpses the week before against Mar. So look, we're continuing to work hard. We're working really hard at our attack. Defensively, we're bang on, and look, we're excited for Saturday. We get another opportunity to go out and try and put a big performance, and Accies will be looking to bounce back from their defeat on Saturday, so we need to be ready for it. We've got another strong squad to pick from. A couple of boys will be missing either through injury or suspension, but apart from that, look, we'll be at full strength, and we've had the added bonus. Hector Patterson has been down training this week. He will come into selection process this week alongside Matt Reid, who's been playing Super 6, is in the draft. So again, will come into the selection process. So a lot of boys training, and we're excited for Saturday. Buzzing to get back to Mansfield, and excited to see how we go against a good Aki's side.
And just when you think they couldn't get any stronger, in comes Hector Patterson and Matt Reid.
Yeah, the draft doing its thing, but there'll be other teams that will benefit from that as well, of course. But yeah, Hawick right where they need to be. Big game though, and Aki's. But you think back to last season, it was a similar type thing. Aki's in fourth in the table, Hawick at the top, and Hawick done an absolute number on them from memory at Mansfield. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what will happen. Aki's could do with getting something from this, that which should bring them down to Mansfield fully fired up. That was a bad result for them at home last week, losing to their near neighbours Heriots. But yeah, I can't see anything other than a Hawick win again this Saturday. The only thing might be they've gone from having the absolute embarrassment of Richies at hooker to now just looking a wee bit thinner on the ground. Fraser Rennick, I believe, is still injured. Yeah, and I would imagine Ross Graham will be banned this weekend, I would have thought.
Yeah, because of the red card from last weekend for an off-the-ball incident, apparently. Embraki, as you mentioned, they've lost the last 2 games, 6 losses, and all in chunks of 2. So they've never lost 3 in a row. They'll be obviously hoping that's exactly the same at Mansfield Park. But many have tried, and none have succeeded in the last 5 and a bit years, or 4 and a bit years.
4 and a bit years, that's right. And no, Aki's just don't look quite as strong as they did last season. As you say, they played 12-1-6 and lost 6, and they're in an absolute dogfight, if you like, for that 4th position, which last year they were pretty comfortable in. But Heriots are thereabouts, Musselburgh are thereabouts, and Kelso
not far behind.
Not far behind that as well. That's right.
Well, also in the Premiership tomorrow, Selkirk host Mar, and here's head coach of Selkirk, Sesh Henderson.
We want to really be competitive at the weekend, and our forwards really strong at the moment, and it's got some quality backs as well. Ben Pickles is playing really well, so is Callum Anderson, so we've got strength across the back line. So we want to try and go out on Saturday and just really put in a massive competitive performance. And against Mar, we know it's going to be physical. Their attack shape is really strong, but however, we believe that we can take them to the last 10-15 minutes, and if we can, then why not believe we can win? There's no point in playing if we can't believe we've got to win, and we can and get points. So we're really looking forward to Saturday. It's going to be a massive test, but we're going to try and get that performance edge in their attack under defence, and let's see what happens.
Well, Selkirk have been a bogey team for Mar, and traditionally Mar tend to struggle in the borders as well.
Yeah, and I've seen Mar a couple of weeks ago against Hawick. They probably could have been playing till now, and they wouldn't have scored. To be honest, they were a wee bit toothless on that particular occasion, but obviously they had a really good win last week against Glasgow Hawks. But yeah, this has got the look of a wee bit of a banana skin about it, and I wouldn't have said that 3 weeks ago. But as I mentioned before, Selkirk have just hit a wee bit of a purple patch last 3 weeks. They've got 2 bonus point victories, plus 2 massively unforeseen bonus points that were won at Currie. So yeah, they're hitting a bit of form now, Selkirk, and as you say, they've caused Mar problems in the past. Can the Suitors do Hawick a massive favour on Saturday?
It'll be very interesting. There'll be highlights of that game on Borders Rugby TV on Sunday. Kelso, they're on their travels. They've won away this season at Heriots Blues, but can they do the double on Glasgow Hawks? Here's Kelso Director of Rugby, Neil Hinnigan.
The last 4 games we've won 3 out of 4 and just narrowly lost to Hawick, so we are in good form. We're continuing to try and progress, and that's the main thing, is getting better each week, and at the moment we're on an upward trajectory regarding that. That's where we really need to be as a club, and keep moving in the right direction. Selection wise, it'll be a fairly settled team. Liam Tate drops out through injury, so does James Thompson. He is needing a full game, that's all. He's not done anything wrong. He's played well when he came on last week, and he'll get another chance shortly. Nick Stingle makes a second start of the season. He's not played since Hawick away, which, and luckily for Nick, he was in on a day where we just didn't get a foothold in the game. So as a scrum half, he didn't get a proper chance. So he's getting a chance on Saturday at Glasgow Hawks, and hopefully Nick does well. Apart from that, there's no really a lot of changes as such, but Cammy Brown comes in to the bench, and Cammy Thompson as well. So we'll see how we get on, and we'll give it our best shot as always.
5 on the bench, 5 forwards. What about that?
Yeah,
Shades of Erasmus.
I was going to say Rassie Hinnigan there, yeah. But no, Kelso have probably got forwards that could do a job in the backs if need be. Cammy Brown potentially, and
good sevens players as well. Plenty of pace.
Murray Woodcock's got a load of pace. He could probably play half a game on the wing. I would have thought no problem at all. But yeah, it's another game this weekend with an interesting look about it. Kelso, if they are going to kick on from here and have a real tilt at that fourth position, which, let's be honest, would be a ridiculously good achievement, but it's not beyond them. But they have to win this game on Saturday.
Yeah, and also, of course, they could be helped by Hawick, who could beat Accies. Musselburgh could lose to Jed Forest. Curry could beat Herriot's Blues, which are all possible, of course. And then they really would be in the hunt for the playoffs, because you're talking about 2 or 3 points between the four of them. Yeah,
as you say, they could do with a bit of a helping hand this weekend. You'd certainly fancy Curry and Hawick to do them a favour. So yeah, it's been a great season. In my opinion, it's been a great season for Kelso so far, and it will continue to be that if they can pick up a victory on the road at Balgray on Saturday.
Well, let's have a look at the other Premiership game involving a local side, and that is Jed Forest. They're going to Stony Hill to have a go at Musselburgh. Here's Jed coach David Grieve.
On Saturday, we played Selkirk down at Jed. It was a game we had to win, but kind of what happened was we were second best probably all over the field, particularly in the scrum, and we just couldn't handle the driving line out. We know where we are. Although we're not mathematically down, it would take a miracle. But I can assure anyone that's interested that we are already planning for next season, and wherever we end up, we'll be in a far stronger position.
Now, humour me on this one, Robin, but let's put this scenario to you, okay? Jed get their first win of the season at Stony Hill tomorrow. They win the Bill McLaren Shield, okay? They then defend it with home wins against Herriot's Blues, Glasgow Hawks and Kelso, but they still get relegated because obviously that still wouldn't be enough. That would mean the trophy goes down to National 1 next season. It'd be very difficult to get it back into the Premiership, wouldn't it?
It would. You've thought long and hard about that, really.
I've got so much time on my hands.
There's a few things need to happen there, a few permutations. It's not absolutely completely beyond the realms of possibility. I think probably the toughest task out of that run of victories would be this one on Saturday. I think it'll be a tough game for Jed up there. Musselburgh have shown this season that they're very much in the no mugs category, and yeah, it could be another long old afternoon at the office for Jed on Saturday. But it's good to hear them sort of fronting up David there and saying, look, we're already building for next season. I think that's the sensible thing to do. Yeah,
very unlikely those results, by the way, but stranger things have happened.
Well, stranger things haven't.
Cast our mind back to last week, for instance, when you predicted that Melrose Highland and Glasgow Accies were nailed on certainties to win last Saturday. That's a quote, and they all got beaten at home as well. Home. So you never know, do you?
That's it, you never know, and that's why you never follow me on the betting stakes.
OK, let's turn to National 1. Our commentary match will be Ayr versus Melrose at Millbrae. Dale Clancy and Robin will be commentating on this one, and we'll be on air at 1:30 covering the 2 o'clock matches before we bring you full commentary of the 3 o'clock game on the West Coast. Let's listen to what Ian Chisholm, the Melrose head coach, has had to say on this one.
It's pretty obvious what Ayr are going to bring. They're going to be physical. They're going to bring a lot of line speed. They're going to be really good at the 1%ers that they get right around the line out scrum. We think their contact skills are outstanding. It's a real point of difference for them. We have a plan going up there, and our squad's still not finalised. It's just one of those things where we need to see who's available, who's out the medical room, who's off night shift, does a baby come or not, and that's just where we are at the moment. But we've got to put a positive spin on everything in that. If we frame things in a positive way, then I think good things will come of that. It's contagious. If you do look at the league table, other results went our way. We want to keep creeping up the table. We want to make sure that our boys are staying motivated and in a common goal, and this weekend that focus is there. It's going to be a real challenge for us, but it's a challenge that we're desperate to get after.
So there's a baby on the way. Do you know who the father is? You weren't expecting that one. Bruce Colvin. It's Bruce Colvin. So he's sitting it out because Ayr is quite a long way to go, just in case something dramatic happens. But it has been an up and down season for Melrose, as Ian mentioned. Some big wins, some big defeats, as you mentioned earlier. And with the squad at the moment, it really is a case really of which Melrose team is going to turn up, because they've got so many injuries, players unavailable, and that just makes it very, very hard to get the best team on the park, really.
It does, and that is a contributing factor, I would say. But Melrose, from the outside looking in, they just seem to have gone backwards a bit this season. They as I said at the start of the season, they need to get out of this division at all costs. In my opinion, they're the kind of, them and Ayr are the two standout clubs in this division that really need to be operating at the higher level. But it's not going to happen this season. To put it kindly, they've been indifferent this season. But it's a tough old task on Saturday. Ian's right. Ayr are by a long chalk the standout team in this division. That the table doesn't lie, and again it could be another tough afternoon for Melrose on Saturday, but they've absolutely nothing to lose. They might as well go there and have a crack.
Indeed, and Ayr going for 12 out of 12, and the one game they really did struggle was actually at home against GHA when they were behind until the very last moment. So just because it's at Millbrae, it doesn't guarantee a win.
It doesn't. You're right, but yeah, they're 11 from 11. There's been times when we've seen mid-game results a couple of times this season, and we've sort of raised one eyebrow. Oh, this could be the week the crown slips effectively, but they've found a way to win every single time, and that, if nothing else, that's alone is the mark of a champion team.
Yep, totally agree with you there. We'll be live on Rugby Radio from 1:30 tomorrow, covering that one. Always good to take in a game at Millbrae, and if you can't make the 2.5-hour journey, just tune in tomorrow right here. We'll bring all the information to you as it happens. But let's go on to Gala now. 4 wins on the bounce for them, but they face Biggar, who beat Melrose last Saturday, and this time is at Hartree Mill with a much stronger team. Director of Rugby at Gala is Ewan Swinton.
Biggar at the start of the season were struggling, but nobody was fooled by that. I think everyone knew that they would start to win once they got their team back into a settled formation and found a wee bit of confidence themselves. So going up to Hartree Mill will be a real challenge for us. However, it's a challenge that we can be excited about and look forward to. I think we're well equipped to take it on. We're completely realistic about the contest that lies before us. Biggar will be really strong in the forwards. They have some real bite there, and we will have to be on top of our game to even have parity. However, I think that there's lots of room for confidence. On Saturday past, we had guys like Liam Scott and Craig Keddy coming off the bench. So if we can introduce that kind of strength and depth into the game, then I think that we should be confident. If we can get that parity in the forwards, then I think that we have the backs to really take it to Biggar. So with lots of confidence, we go up there, not particularly expecting anything fantastic, but certainly confident that a win is well within our scope. Confident about our ability to win, but also very respectful of what we'll be up against. So we're looking forward to it, and hopefully it will be a good game.
Well, if you pardon the pun, a much bigger challenge for them this week.
Yeah, and a much bigger challenge than this fixture would have been 3-4 weeks ago. Biggar, as I said before, have appeared to have massively got their act together. I think Ewan's right. It did always feel a wee bit that Biggar were going to hit their straps at some point and start to move up the table. But yeah, Gala probably the form horse, other than Ayr, of course. Gala the form horse in this division, and it's got a good look about it now. Gala, there's a lot of young players in there, and I think they've probably taken time to bed in at the start of the season when some of the results didn't go their way. But yeah, they look like they're in a pretty good place at the moment, and it's another fixture that's got a good look about it. It's a tough one to call.
Going to be interesting as well to see, because in next week's fixtures, Gala play Melrose at Netherdale, and both teams up to sort of last week certainly we're doing well. They were on a winning roll. Obviously Biggar changed that at the Greenyards, but Gala are keeping on going, and it's going to be very interesting to see how those two pan out next week. More on that in 7 days' time. But in National 2, Peebles are at home to bottom club Aberdeen Grammar. Currently the men from the Guides are third in the table behind Lasswade and Falkirk, and this is the sort of game they simply have to get 5 points in. A win will guarantee they jump up, as Lasswade don't play tomorrow. They've played one more than both Falkirk and Peebles, so Lasswade sit it out this weekend. Here's Peebles head coach Graham Patterson.
Now Aberdeen will be dangerous, as every week they're just looking to get some sort of step up in their fight for survival, so we've got to be wary of that. They will probably come out the traps looking to get some sort of foothold in the game, and if it means soaking up that pressure, that's what we have to do. Soaking up that pressure, applying our own pressure to them, and then hoping that breaking point comes fairly quickly in the game, and we get a good performance, which will lead to a good result. Squad wise, we're fairly settled, certainly in the backs. It's looking like an unchanged back line, which is key, keeping that continuity, building relationships and positions, looking to develop our game week on week. A bit of rejigging the forwards with a few unavailabilities. Obviously this is a rescheduled game and a couple of guys unavailable due to this. Neil Hogarth got taken off injured last week, so he's unavailable due to the injury, but we're replacing one old stalwart with another, and Willie Aitken will start up front. Matty Carrier's unavailable this week, so it gives opportunities for Rory Smith and Lewis Copeland and John Napier to step into that mantle. And pleasingly, we've got club captain Murdo Anderson back available after his injury over the last 6 weeks. Unfortunately for the team, it's a replacement for somebody who's also unavailable, and Finlay Collins will be away. But Murdo will fill that gap and come straight back in to lead the team.
And it has to be a 5-pointer.
It does. Yeah, you're right. And I think there's every reason to suggest that it will be. But you're right, it needs to be. To blow the likes of Carrier being out, but Peebles, I was really impressed on the occasions I've seen Peebles this season, and I think they've got a decent squad for third team rugby. You know, you mentioned some of the names that are coming back in there. The captain, Murdo Anderson, for one, I like him as a player. So yeah, Peebles, I would imagine, will get the 5 points, and it's really hotting up at the top of the division.
It certainly is. Now, last week, Berwick finally got that monkey off the back. A win at Scremerson against Stirling County. Can they back it up at Kirkcaldy? Here's a relieved Paul Pringle, the forwards coach at Berwick.
We know this will be a really tough match. We've got a couple of injuries, so Saturday was expensive for us in the fact that Cam Rogerson, our scrum half's out for what's likely to be about 2 months with a bad injury at his back. Club captain Ali Grieve had a head knock, so he's likely to be 3 weeks, I think is the protocol, so we'll lose him for. But we have a couple of guys coming back in who'll fill those spaces, and apart from that, we're largely unchanged. So we're looking forward to the match. Kirkcaldy are effectively the next target for us. You know, now we're off the bottom. They're the next team, just a couple of points ahead of us. So we really want to come into this and, you know, try and get a victory up there. But we know it'll not be easy. They've had good results against Aberdeen and Stu Mel this season. So we're not taking anything for granted. But we've had a hard week in training. Boys have built up again, and we just want to get on the road on Saturday and see what we can do and hopefully come back with another win.
So a win at last for Berwick, and they'll certainly relish having a crack at Kirkcaldy. Have been hot and cold, as he said.
Yeah, I think it's a really good fixture to follow up the first win of the season last year. Great to see them get that win, because they've certainly been plugging away. And we spoke a few weeks ago about the trips that they have, though, didn't we? It's Kirkcaldy this weekend. But if there's one team they probably wanted to play this week, it's the one directly above them. And now that they've got a wee bit of momentum back up last week with this week, and all of a sudden they're up the table, they're up above Kirkcaldy, and there's just a bit more daylight between them and Aberdeen, who are fancy to lose at Peebles.
Into East League One now, and delighted to say we can hear from Craig Hislop this week, head coach of Langham. His team won last Saturday at home to Forrester. This week they're at home again to Haddington.
On Saturday we had a great victory over Forrester, 25-21. Going into 65 minutes, Forrester scored a try to take ourselves to a 21-15 lead. It took us through to the 75th minute before we responded, before following it up with another try in the 78th minute to take the lead and hold out for a 25-21 win. This is the first time this season we backed up a win with another win. Funnily enough, it was the corresponding fixtures early in the season against Forrester and Royal High. We managed to put both those teams away. This weekend we move on to play Haddington. We're sitting second in the league. Earlier in the season we played them, we struggled for a squad up there. We're defeated 43 points to 26. Again, getting a bonus point late on in the game. So a few faces back this weekend. Hopefully we can get a win with the situation in the league that we're in fourth position at the minute. But bottom team's just 8 points behind, so all to play for.
Well, it's good to get a win last week. It always gives you a spring in the step. They'll certainly be heartened by that. Linlithgow and Haddington way ahead at the top of the table, but then there's a huge 14-point gap to a cluster of three clubs, including Langham. There's Broughton in there and Forrester, who are separated by just 1 point. So with just 5 games to go in that league, another opportunity for Langham to show what they can do at Milntown.
Yeah, and it'll be a tricky game. Craig's right. Haddington are in second in the table. Have only lost once this season, but yeah, Langham just looked like they've picked up another border team that looked like they've picked up a wee bit in recent times as well. But he's right, Craig, as well, in that Langham are still closer to the team at the bottom than they are to the top. So a home win on Saturday would not go amiss at all in terms of just really solidifying their place in the division. I think that absolutely they'll be safe, and they should hopefully be looking up rather than down, but another win at home would just almost ram it home, if you like.
In East 2, Hoyt Lindeen take on Christophin at home. Here's Lindeen's Gary Alexander.
We're back at the Volunteer Park on Saturday for week 2 of 4 home games in a row, this time against Christophin. We lost 33-12 up in Edinburgh back in September. The last time we met at the Volunteer was in January, and we lost by just a point, 19-18. So we hope that we can build on our win last week against Duns, 23-0. Which was great to produce nil, great defence. We only scored 3 tries, we maybe just missed out on the bonus point. It would be nice if we could have lost it off with the extra point, but it was a great performance in really wet conditions. Needed a lot of good work by the forwards up front, a lot of good ball carrying. It was nice to get a couple of the older heads back. Stuart here played superb up front. Graham Colville, very experienced. He went over for 1 of our 3 tries. He's 102nd for the club, which is some record, and I'm sure would be happy to tell everybody about every single one of them if he got the chance. We picked up a couple of knocks. Johnny Frew went off, so hopefully that's not too serious, and it will be fairly full strength for Saturday. And the aim, as I say, is to get another victory.
Gary Alexander from Hoyt Lindeen, 102 tries in a career. That's not bad going, is it?
That's quite remarkable. Almost knocked me over with a feather there. I think 102 games or 102 tries.
102 tries.
Yeah, that's all credit to the lad there.
How many games has he played there?
Well, there must be a few. That's sensational.
Gary will tell us. We'll make a point of finding out.
Yeah, Gary will know off the top of his head as well, no doubt. But yeah, good win for the Lindeen last week. Christophin 3 points above them in the league, so yeah, another border team who, if they can pick up maximum haul of points this week, can potentially jump up a place or 2.
Yeah, it's another league with 3 outstanding clubs. You've got Pennycook and Dunbar and Dalkeith, way clear of their rivals, but a real chance for points for Lindeen this weekend, so we wish them all the best. And in East 2 as well, there's Hoyk Quins, and Adam Hall has the latest news from the Quins camp, who are at home, as I say, to Dalkeith.
It's great to be back at home this week after a couple of tough away trips. As with every game in this league, expect it to be a tough one against Dalkeith. I think they've only slipped up once in the league this season, and it wasn't Hoyk, so hoping for a bit of deja vu for them, and we can also take the scalp of them like the Lindeen did earlier in the season. Last week was tough against Livingston. They were a big park, and it kind of sucked the life out of us in the end. We struggled to break them down, but it was a great defensive performance by the guys that travelled, so can't fault the effort there. Hoping to get a couple back for the home game this week, and it'd be good to try and get a result at home against Dalkeith.
And again, it's that situation, isn't it, particularly in the East Leagues, where you have players available one week and not the next. Yeah, and it'll be tricky for coaches. I think that's the way rugby is now. I think it's hard enough to get the same team out 2 weeks on the trot right at the top of the club pyramid. Never mind down the divisions. But Quins, 4 wins so far this season. They'll be looking to make it 5 against Dalkeith. Certainly at home, but there is a bit of a gulf in terms of points. And Dalkeith, I've got a couple of games still on the team at the top, that being Pennycook. They're 11 points adrift, so they'll be looking for a 5-pointer on Saturday as well. And finally to East League 3, no game for Earlston this week, but Galloway M take on Edinburgh University Medics, where a win would certainly put them back into positive points territory. They currently have -2, having been docked points, and still, of course, looking for their first win as well. A reminder, we're live on Rugby Radio from 1:30 tomorrow, coming to you from Millbrae with full commentary of Ayr against Melrose in National League 1. We'll have television highlights of that game on Sunday on Borders Rugby Television, and also Selkirk versus Mar. Don't forget to check out the new Scottish Club Rugby podcast, episode 13, now available, where Dale Clancy talks a lot of interesting stuff, taking a comprehensive look at the club scene at the same time in Scotland. And if you've got any idea what I'm talking about, or you don't, tune in and you'll soon find out. There's the new website, of course, at rugbyradio.co.uk, and of course our main site for everything to do with Borders Rugby. That's at bordersrugby.net. Do check it all out, and we'll see you on Rugby Radio tomorrow at 1:30. But for Robin and me, bye-bye for now.